After a fire damaged my in-laws' house, I took time off work to rebuild their porch. Every board, every nail. The day I finished, they threw a barbecue. I wasn't invited. My wife said it's more of a family thing. I stood in the street watching them laugh without me. Then I got in my car and... My name's Mike. I'm 38, live in Missoula, Montana, and work as a maintenance tech for the university. I fix HVACs, boilers, you name it. Good with my hands. I don't talk much, but I always show up when people need me. That's just how I was raised. My wife, Stephanie, comes from a different kind of world. Her parents, Rob and Nancy, are the old Missoula type, ran a construction business back in the 90s, made decent money, kept their noses high. Her brother, Brad, works for the state. They always saw me as less than. Stephanie's mom even once told her, "You could have done better, honey." Still, I loved her. I loved us. So I let a lot of things slide over the years. The snide comments, the fake smiles, the little digs. Then the fire happened. It was a Saturday night in April. Dryer caught fire while Nancy was out back smoking. Caught the porch, the siding, part of the living room. By the time fire crews got there, the whole backside of the house was scorched. No one was hurt, but it hit them hard. Insurance didn't cover everything. Her dad kept whining about how contractors these days charge like they're building the White House. They didn't want to pay the rebuild costs, so I offered to help. I offered because it was the right thing to do, and because Stephanie asked me to. I used vacation time and even a few unpaid days. Hauled my tools from our garage. Borrowed my buddy Dave's truck to get the lumber. Every day for 5 weeks, I showed up to their house before 7 a.m. Some days I stayed until after dark. I replaced the support beams, built out new stairs, reinforced the structure, and added weather-treated boards. I even custom-built a bench along the rail because Rob always complained about not having a place to sit. And through all of this, Rob never lifted a hand. Sat inside watching TV or drinking beer. Nancy brought out water a few times but didn't say much. Stephanie stopped by maybe twice. Said she was busy handling the paperwork. Most of the time, I worked alone. No thanks. No help. I didn't do it for praise. I just wanted to be useful. I wanted to prove one last time that I was family. When I nailed the last board down, I stood back and looked at it. That porch was solid. Sturdy. Beautiful in a plain kind of way. I drove home sweaty and sore, but proud. Stephanie didn't say much when I got back. Just that her parents were happy it was finally done. Next day was a Sunday. I drove over late afternoon to pick up my sawhorses and leftover lumber. As I turned onto their street, I saw balloons tied to the mailbox. A bunch of cars in the driveway and along the curb. Music. People talking. Laughter. I slowed down, confused. Then I saw them. All of them. Stephanie was standing on the porch, handing out plates of food. Rob was manning the grill. Brad and his wife were laughing with neighbors. Nancy sat in a lawn chair under the new awning I'd installed, drinking wine. On my porch, I parked across the street and waited a few minutes. Thought maybe they were planning to surprise me. Or maybe they didn't think I'd come by. So I texted Stephanie. "Did I miss something?" "Barbecue," she replied a minute later. "It's more of a family thing. We'll talk later." That was it. I just sat there in the driver's seat holding my phone, watching them eat ribs and laugh and clink beers together like nothing ever happened. Like I didn't pour weeks of my life into that house, into that porch. Not one person looked my way. Not Rob. Not Nancy. Not even Stephanie. I drove off. I didn't go home. I didn't know where I was going. Just needed to be anywhere but there. Ended up pulling over near the edge of the woods on the way to Lolo. Sat there for hours. Thought about everything. Every comment. Every time I'd said yes when I should have said no. Every time they took without giving. I thought about how I had become nothing but a tool to them. That night I slept in my truck. First time in years I slept through the night without waking up angry or anxious. And when I woke up I didn't feel like going back. Not to the house. Not to the job. Not to Stephanie. I turned off my phone for the day. Took out a notepad I kept in the glove box and started writing names. Dates. Things I'd done. Times I'd covered rent for Brad back when he lost a check. That time I fixed Rob's plumbing after he cursed out the city contractor. I wrote everything. Not because I needed revenge. Not yet. I needed a clear record. Because I was done being the guy who gave without limits. And it was time they learned what it felt like when the guy they used stopped giving. I didn't go home for 2 more days. I stayed out near Flathead Lake at an old fishing spot my dad used to take me to when I was a kid. No cell service, just quiet. Gave me time to think. And once everything sat in my head long enough, something snapped into place. I wasn't going back the same way I left. When I drove home Wednesday night, the house was dark. Stephanie wasn't there. I walked in, took a long shower, then sat down in the kitchen and turned my phone back on. 22 missed calls. All from her. 1 from Nancy. Voicemails too. I didn't listen. Instead, I sat down and made a plan. The next morning, I went into work and asked my boss if I could go part-time for a couple months. I told him it was personal. He looked at me for a long time and said, "Take care of what you need to. You've earned it." So I did. Over the next week, I started cutting ties. Quietly. I pulled every tool I had out of that garage. Sold what I didn't need, stored the rest at my cousin Nick's place across town. Nick's a good guy. We don't talk much, but he knows how to keep things private. I told him I needed space and he didn't ask questions. Then I called up a friend of mine, Rachel. She's a real estate agent in town. I told her I wanted to see if the market was good for a sale. She thought I meant the house I'd helped build out years ago. But I didn't. I meant Rob and Nancy's house. "Wait, your in-laws' place?" she asked. "You own that?" "Not all of it," I said. "But enough." See, back in 2019, they took out a second mortgage after Brad racked up some gambling debt. The bank wouldn't give them the full amount. So I did. I gave them $25,000 under one condition: my name went on the deed as partial ownership until they paid it back. They never did. I still had the paperwork. Signed, notarized, legal. Tucked away in the fireproof safe in our closet. Stephanie knew. Said it was just temporary. Well, it had been 4 years. And I still had part ownership. Rachel ran the numbers. Market had gone up. Way up. House was worth a lot more now, even with the old fire damage and the repairs. Especially with the new porch. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing yet. I just started gathering documents. I met with a lawyer. Told him the situation. He looked everything over and said the words I needed to hear: "You have a legal interest in that property. If they don't buy you out or agree to sell, you can force a petition sale." That's when the gears really started turning. Meanwhile, Stephanie kept acting like nothing was wrong. She apologized for the barbecue, said it was thrown together last minute. Told me I was overreacting. She didn't know I saw the Facebook pictures. Her cousin posted them. The decorations. The banner that read, "Rebuilding Family Together." The toast her dad made thanking everyone who showed up and supported us. I showed her the photo. She just looked at it and shrugged. "I didn't think it was that big a deal, Mike. You know how my parents are." That was the last real conversation we had in that house. A few days later, I served Rob and Nancy with legal notice through my lawyer. Partition sale petition. They were furious. Rob called me screaming. Said I was trying to steal his house. Nancy left a voicemail crying, saying I was destroying the family. Brad texted me one sentence: "What the F*** is wrong with you?" But none of them denied the debt. None of them argued the paperwork. I gave them 3 choices. 1, buy me out at current market value. 2, sell the house and split the proceeds. 3, fight me in court and lose even more money. They asked for time to talk it over. Stephanie begged me to just let it go. Said I was being cruel. I told her this wasn't about revenge. Not yet. It was about respect. That weekend, she packed a bag and left to stay at her parents' house for a few days. Said she needed space to think. I knew what that meant. While she was gone, I found the notebook I'd written in during those nights in the truck. I added more. Memories. Moments. Things I hadn't wanted to admit. Like the way Stephanie always took their side. How she never once stuck up for me in 6 years of marriage. The way she'd slowly turned into one of them. I stopped sleeping in our bed after that. And while they scrambled trying to find a way to avoid selling, I made another move. One that hit even harder. I filed a small claims lawsuit against Brad. For $4,800. That was the amount I'd covered for him in 2021 when he lost a check and couldn't pay rent. I had the Venmo logs. Texts. A written agreement he signed promising to pay me back in full within the year. He never did. I sent the court papers to his work address. The moment that happened, things really started to unravel. And I hadn't even gotten to the good part yet. After I filed the claim against Brad, everything got loud. He called me raging, said I was ruining his life, said his wife was threatening to leave because of the embarrassment, said he could lose his job with the state if he got dragged into a public court case. I told him, flat out, "You should have paid me back." He hung up. 2 days later, Stephanie came by the house. First time in weeks. She looked tired. Her hair was messy, like she hadn't slept right. She walked in like she still lived there. I didn't stop her. She sat down at the kitchen table and just said, "Why are you doing this?" I didn't answer right away. I just looked at her. Really looked at her. And it hit me. I didn't recognize her anymore. Same face. Different person. Cold. Detached. "You all laughed without me," I said. "On the porch I built. After everything I did." "That's not what this is about," she snapped. "You're blowing it out of proportion. You're trying to burn everything down just because your feelings were hurt." I stood up. "No. I'm making sure no one forgets what I've done for this family." "You call that revenge? Fine. Then I'm okay with that." She didn't cry. Didn't apologize. She just got quiet and said, "If you go through with this, I don't know if we'll come back from it." I said nothing. Just walked her to the door. That night, I got a message from Rachel, the realtor. She said Rob and Nancy had been quietly trying to list the house behind my back. With a different agent. Without my signature. Without telling me. They figured if they sold fast, they could claim I was never legally tied to the deed. I sent the documents to Rachel, then forwarded them to my lawyer. They tried to cheat me out of the one piece of leverage I still had. Big mistake. My lawyer slapped a formal notice of lease pendens on the house. It's a legal warning tied to any title search. It basically tells the world the property is part of a lawsuit. It freezes any sale. They couldn't sell to anyone now without my approval. That's when I got the call from Nancy. She didn't yell this time. She begged. She said Rob wasn't doing well. That the stress was breaking him. That Stephanie was depressed. That Brad was spiraling. She said I could stop this. That I was hurting everyone over a misunderstanding. I let her talk. Then I said, "No one misunderstood me when I rebuilt that porch in 100-degree heat." Click. The next twist came from the lawyer. Turns out Brad's wife, Gina, had quietly contacted my attorney after the small claims filing. She wanted to settle it behind Brad's back. Said she had access to a joint account he didn't monitor closely. She wired me the money, plus interest. But she also sent something else. Screenshots. Texts between Rob, Brad, Nancy, and Stephanie. They were mocking me. Laughing about the barbecue. About how I was too sensitive and would have made the party weird. Brad wrote, "Mike's good for free labor, but not much else." Rob replied, "He should feel lucky we let him fix it. Kept him busy." And Stephanie? She wrote, "I told him it was a family thing. He's not like us. He doesn't get it." That last one, "he's not like us," burned through me like fire. I stared at the screen for an hour before I said anything. And when I did, I just whispered out loud, "Okay." That's all I needed. I printed those messages. I saved everyone. Then I called the lawyer again and told him to go full steam ahead. Partition sale. Court appearance. Discovery phase. Public filings. I wanted it all on record. And I wasn't done yet. Because now that I had the texts, now that I had evidence of intent to exclude, insult, and manipulate me, that wasn't just about property anymore. That was marriage. That was grounds. So I filed for divorce. And I named emotional abandonment and financial deceit as my reasons. Stephanie didn't take it well. She tried to call. Showed up banging on the front door at midnight. Screaming. Said I was ruining everything. But the truth is, it had already been ruined. They just didn't think I'd ever stand up and show them how badly they'd broken it. And now they were finally starting to feel it. But I wasn't finished. Not even close. The divorce went fast. Faster than I thought it would. My lawyer said that once we submitted the texts and added the emotional damage, the court leaned in our favor. Stephanie didn't contest anything. She wanted out as soon as possible once she saw she couldn't win. She walked away with her clothes, her car, and her pride bruised. Nothing else. I kept the house, the savings, and my truck. That was the easy part. The hard part was sitting in court for the partition hearing on her parents' house. Rob and Nancy showed up dressed like they were going to a funeral. Brad looked like hell. He'd shaved his beard and lost weight. None of them looked at me. They sat in the front, fidgeting while the judge reviewed everything. My lawyer laid it all out. The $25,000 they never repaid. The signed agreement giving me a share of the property. The text showing they deliberately excluded me. Their attempt to sell the house behind my back. He also mentioned the porch. That porch, the one I rebuilt, every nail, every plank, ended up being a key part of the case. Rachel, my real estate friend, provided an official estimate. The new porch added over $30,000 in resale value to the house. They hadn't paid me for it. They never even said thank you. The judge ruled in my favor. The house had to be sold. Not should be. Had to be. They were given 90 days to list and sell it. After closing, the profits would be split 70% to them, 30% to me. That was the math based on my ownership, labor, and material contributions. It stung them bad. And it got worse. Because now that the divorce was finalized, Stephanie had to move back in with them. 3 bitter people under one roof in a house they were being forced to sell. A house that only looked good because of the man they pushed out. The open house was the best part. Rachel let me come just to walk through. I didn't say much. Just stood on that porch and watched strangers walk around, complimenting the view, the woodwork, the new touches. Rob had to stand there and pretend to be proud of a porch he didn't lift a finger to build. I caught him staring at me once. His face was red, jaw tight. He knew exactly what that moment was. Brad stayed in the backyard the whole time, smoking cigarettes like he was waiting for a bomb to drop. The sale went through 6 weeks later. After all costs were settled, I got a check for $112,000. Cash. I took it straight to the bank, then called Dave, my buddy who had loaned me his truck. We packed everything I hadn't already moved to my cousin Nick's place. I left Missoula the next morning. I didn't leave a note. I didn't leave a forwarding address. I just left. I drove across Idaho, then down through Oregon. I took my time. Stayed in roadside motels, caught my breath. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting on anyone. No one was waiting on me. It felt quiet, clean. Eventually, I bought a small fixer-upper outside of Bend, Oregon. Nothing fancy. 1 bedroom, big yard, old tool shed. I paid cash. Been working on it ever since. Framing new walls. Refinishing cabinets. I don't rush. I make it right. Sometimes I sit on the little porch I'm building out back, drink coffee, and think about that day I stood in the street watching them laugh without me. They thought they were winning. They thought I was just the help. But I was the one holding the foundation. And when I pulled my hands away, everything they built came down with it. I haven't spoken to Stephanie since. But a friend back in Missoula told me she's renting a room from some coworker now. Her parents had to move into a small apartment after the house sold. Brad's wife left him and took the kids. He quit his job a month later. I guess you could call that karma. Or maybe just math. You take from someone long enough, eventually they do the math and take it all back. I'm not bitter. I'm not angry anymore. I just don't give away pieces of myself for free now. Not to anyone. And if someone ever invites me to a barbecue again, I'll decide if they are worth showing up for. Not the other way around.